Universe, Michael Talbot's book, Holographic Universe.
When we look at star forts and using sacred geometry patterns, not only in literature, but also in the land, carving or terraforming the land to create sacred geometry patterns that resonate voltage of electricity. And some would even say the star forts can turn invisible. So what is your knowledge on what people are looking at right here in the middle and into the left and right of them?
Yeah. So we are living on the ground, and that's the inverted heaven. So yeah, so in front of us is a mirror. It's using water. Water is the actual mirror. The mirrors that we have in our houses are not really showing us what we look like. So water is actually showing us what we really look like. That's the reflective pool theory too. That's used within all the ancient Tartarian cities used reflective pools. So you see the reflective pool, then you see the ancient Egyptian obelisk, and then you have your instrument of sound, the manifestation, which is usually a temple, which we think is Roman, but actually those are in every country on earth, because every country has its own energy center. Otherwise the ground would have never ascended out of the water. Heaven is actually below us in the ocean. Above us is actually what we call hell, or Himmel, which is in German heaven. Yeah, Himmel, hell. So but it is all inverted. That's the funny thing. It's like it took me such a long time to realize that when you look at a star fort, you're not looking at something that was built to defend against some superficial military movement, incursion on your land. That's just the energy center that is created to pinpoint the stars above. There'll always be a star above the star fort in the heavens. The realm is not that hard to understand if you understand the basic concept of what a mirror is. So we have God the creator, and we have Satan, which is a different god, but both of these are created by the same creator entity. Satan only exists because God lets him exist, or allows him to exist. I mean, when you talk about fallen angels, you're just talking about the angles that fall down, the light that falls down onto the ground from the heaven. So we are taught about this whole concept of being one small planet flying around the sun, when the esoteric belief, all these star forts are constant illuminations above us that don't move, that we're not spinning, there's no movement, but that we have this kind of sun idea moving around us, giving us these constant illuminations, constellations. So the star fort is pinpointing the star. Every star fort on Earth is pinpointing the star. There's star forts every island nation, every country from the Middle East to Asia to Europe. We are told they were built by the Dutch for some military purpose. Absolute baloney. I'm not saying the Dutch wouldn't have built something that looks like a star fort. I'm saying that the star forts on Earth, those thousands of star forts, were not built by one military empire. Because when you look at like Angkor Wat, that's also a star-shaped structure. That's a very geometrical sound, built specifically to harness sound. They're basically bells. They're just large bells that don't have the hollow bell that we are used to seeing in clock towers, because that's a later appropriation of that ancient knowledge, those ancient creatures that came from the sky. Okay, because every empire has the same story. Every empire uses sound to create all of their architecture. If you even look at like Japanese fortresses from the 14th, 13th century, long before the Japanese had any kind of cannon, before they had to build a star fort to defend against cannon, those are also star forts, and they're built with water around them. And we are always told, oh, the water is to slow down the army. That's completely ridiculous. The water needs to come into the city. That's where the energy flows. That's what you use to wash clothes on a superficial level and drink. But on a higher esoteric level, that's where the energy comes from. Yeah. So every animal that is connected to water, has all the tools that it needs to harness electricity. Yeah, everything that it needs to harness electricity. Ducks have beaks that harness electricity so they can create their own anode cathode. Everything on Earth is born out of this energy, this sacred geometry. It's a 5-pointed star. You're looking at a 5-pointed star, but everybody who looks at that is thinking, oh, that's a beautiful city built in that way, just in case it gets attacked one day by a very specific kind of field cannon. And I hope that as time goes on, people stop looking at star forts as military structures and as these signs of this ancient civilization that we can learn so much from. I think the people who built this are not humans. Yeah, we're not talking about humans. Yeah, look at those. I mean, you have those in America too, you know.
Yeah, you guys look what some of these are in America while Charles is speaking. So
the
when he's
geometry
saying
is there, so
they're everywhere.
It's the supreme intelligence. That's what gives us that.
And then
you would
Charles,
need a satellite, you would need a GPS to build a perfect star fort. That's not something built by humans. I mean, you can build a small one if you're a human, but I'm talking about the real ones, the ancient ones, you know. Because there's always fake ones too. You have to be careful. There's always fake ones. I'm not saying every single star fort was built by ancient entities.
And then look what Charles is saying about sound is vibration in the ether. And then it talks about how all the star forts coincidentally were built by water. And so with water comes vibration. And we know that when you speak to water, the actual crystal structures do change. And so now we have proof scientifically by Dr. Emoto, that when you speak to water, the structure changes. So if you say, I love you to your plant, to your water, to a human, to your dog, anything with a vibration, it actually has a conscience and reacts.